Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my fourth live. Just to remind everyone, we're here to build a community around English language education here in Algeria and beyond. So, basically, the topics we cover revolve around English language teaching and learning. So, I'm very excited to welcome my guest for today's live, Mrs. Noor Al Huda Sultani. So, waiting for her to pop up. Noor Al Huda, are you there? Apparently, she's not yet here. Maybe we can just wait for her for a few minutes. Oh, there she is.
I am sorry. I just got disconnected for a second there.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay,
Good
so
evening.
basically, yeah, good evening. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So basically, Noor Al Huda Sultani is an English teacher and academic manager at Limitless Institute, Algeria. She's been in the training industry for over 12 years. Impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
She's also a business English trainer, and that's the reason why I invited her to the live today to talk about the very interesting area of business English. So, again, Huda, welcome to the live.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to join your live session. I've been watching your live sessions, and I find your insights on English language teaching, the fact that you share your expertise and you offer people this opportunity to share their own expertise, their skills and tips with. The rest of the world is very inspiring. So I really am looking forward to this conversation.
All
I think
right.
I'll start by introducing myself a little bit, maybe talking about my educational background and
Sure.
career. Good evening, everyone. My name is Noor Huda Sultani Mhenni. I am an English language trainer. I've been teaching English over 10 years now. I actually started quite young. I'm currently launching my digital training center, which is Limitless Institute. I've worked in the education center, as I mentioned, 10 years. I started teaching children, teenagers, and then I specialized in business English, so working with adults, professionals in general. Throughout my career, I have developed I may say, a strong expertise in teaching English for specific purposes, but I was more inclined towards business English as it combined my passion for English and business. Um, so again, throughout my career, I have led courses and I've collaborated through previous employers with national well, a multitude of multinational companies such as Algeria, Algeria Telecom, Johnson Pharmaceutical, Sonegas, to name a few. So national and multinational companies. As well, concerning regarding my academic background, I hold a master's degree in Anglo-Saxon studies, so that is English literature and civilization from the University of Algiers too. I also hold a bachelor's degree in educational psychology, which allowed me to actually maybe be better able to understand my students, better be able to deliver my courses. What else? What else can I say? I love discovering new methodologies. I love innovating in the classroom. I am someone who gets bored easily, and I know a lot of my learners get bored easily with the content. So I like to hone my skill, and I like to call myself an eternal learner. I'm always doing homework and trying to better myself for my students. I'm going
All
to
right.
stop.
Excellent. Excellent. So, we are very much looking forward to learning more about your experience.
Thank you.
All right. So,
Right.
let's just go ahead and get started with the questions. So, let's
Yeah.
just start by talking about what inspired you initially to specialize in business English.
Well, actually, I started teaching general English, as I mentioned just now, and I started working with children because I was a freshman at the University of Algiers too.
Mhm.
And so I spent the first 2 years just working with children, discovering English language teaching, taking baby steps, literally learning with my kids, as I used to call them. And then I moved to teenagers. And then when I was a senior student, one of my professors approached me. She was the academic manager at a school called the Workshop Training and Consulting at the time. So she approached me and she asked me whether I was interested in teaching business English, in specializing. I like to think that she saw a certain potential, and so she took us under her wing. She took me under her wing, and she started training me to become a business English uh, teacher, trainer.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it didn't happen in the sense that I was passionate about business English, so I decided to specialize. It was through the invitation of my professor. But
Mhm.
then, as I started noticing, first of all, with this fast growing globalized economy, we started noticing at the time this establishment of various multinational companies in Algeria, companies who would require the use of English, who would require the presence of English in their staff's resume.
Mhm.
So we kind of wanted to take this approach of helping people enrich their resumes with business English. And I like to always add, because this is a disclaimer, people think that adding English to their resume would guarantee a job. English adds, and business English, they add a great added value to an already rich resume.
Mhm.
So this is number one. Number two, actually, business English allowed me to incorporate cultural nuances. I've always loved cultures, and I've grown up fascinated. I think similarly to everyone, to the majority of us out there, with the American culture, more specifically. I've always loved helping people raise their awareness of, American culture. It's How do I put this? Um, let's say incorporate their fascination with this culture within their studies, within their professional sphere, sorry, and be able to communicate better with their business partners and be able to provide effective strategies, be provided with effective strategies to make business work without any misunderstandings, without any diplomatic incidents. I mean,
Mhm. All right. Excellent. So, Noruda, who is
yes.
business English for?
Business English, if I were to give the standard answer, business English would be for uh, people who don't speak English, so individuals whose first language is not English, but
Mhm.
who work in environments where English is required,
Mhm.
either as the main language or the secondary language. This may include business professionals. So these are people who have to deal with clients who are English speakers, partners, or stakeholders who speak English primarily. Students who study business-related topics, so business-related subjects, or even recent graduates who are looking for jobs or who are looking to enter international businesses or international fields such as finance, marketing, or management, for example. In
Mhm.
business English is required for these people. But I think
Okay.
that nowadays everyone is interested in business English because we've been pushing this idea, this notion of entrepreneurship, everyone aspires to become a
That's
business
true.
owner, which is yes, which is great. It's the best case scenario for everyone, I believe. So I think if one aims to be a business owner, then I think that English is mandatory. It's no
Mhm.
longer an option to speak English.
Exactly. And also, given the fact that a lot of people now have international aspirations, right?
Exactly, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
whether you want to travel, whether you want to travel, uh, what I noticed recently is, a lot of my friends used to travel for fun. They used to travel for pleasure. Now they still travel for pleasure, but they're always looking for business opportunities. It's it's a duality now.
Mhm.
It's a dual There's a duality in goals. So I'm going to travel for pleasure, but as I'm shopping, I'll try to maybe strike a deal with someone, buy find a wholesalesman and buy clothes and resell them in Algeria. I'm kind of trying to find deals. So unless you speak English, for example, if you go to Turkey, you either speak English or Turkish.
Mhm. All right.
They're not fans of French.
Good. Now, let's take a look at the difference between business English and general English. So, how is business English different from general English? For example, when it comes to the teaching methodology.
Yeah. All right. So, well, when it comes to methodology, business English is different in the sense that general English is more we classroom format where you have to divide your sessions into theory and practice. With business English, I find that a more practical approach is more appreciated and is more effective with our students. So, for example, with business English, we use there's a focus on skills more uh, more than the linguistic part itself. So I'm not
Mhm.
teaching you to speak English. I am teaching you how to use specific, for example, the use of grammar, not in general, the use of grammar in a business context. The terminology different. If I were to teach you the above, I can do in, for example, a case study.
Mhm.
There's also a focus on professional correspondence. So instead of teaching you writing, instead of giving you homework, correcting it, and just writing my feedback, I would actually have them do a sort of a collaborative learning experience. And I would give feedback to everyone, have them um, um, maybe do a simulation of a professional correspondence setting or have them deliver presentations. So it's definitely more practical of an approach. And this is just one of the approaches that we can use.
Mhm. All right.
There's, can I?
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Also, I think business English prioritizes real world applications.
Mhm.
In the sense that I feel like it's more raw than general English. With general English, it's more fun. It's sometimes even less formal, depending, of course, on who you're teaching and why you're teaching them. So, depending on your learners' needs. Sometimes you're teaching English in an informal way, not in the sense that we teach them slang or anything, but if you're teaching someone general English for traveling purposes, with teaching someone how to use English in a business context, it comes with teachings of etiquette. It comes with more, let's say, formal, more professional format.
Mhm. I see.
Yeah,
So, yeah, basically, business English is about teaching learners specific
yeah,
jargon, right?
yeah,
That applies to
definitely,
specific
definitely,
work situations
of course.
as
It's
opposed to general
industry
English.
specific, if you will. It's industry specific.
Mm,
So you have to take into account the background of your learner. So it's finance, marketing, sales, management. depending on where they come from or where they want to dip their toes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you've got a long experience teaching business English, right? And you still teach it. You've
Yes,
worked
I
with
do.
a number of multinationals established here in
Yes.
Algeria.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the current state of business English teaching and learning in Algeria?
Well, the current state of business English teaching and learning in Algeria, I can say that it has shown significant growth and development over the past years. I mean,
Hmm.
there's definitely been a spark in interest in business English. I remember starting back in 2013, maybe 2013, 2014, and people started becoming more and more interested in business English. And as we've emphasized before, this interest is only growing, especially with the presence of different organizations in Algeria who are now offering business English courses. This is something that
Hmm.
wasn't available before. And now I don't like using the expression at every corner as it diminishes the value, but I think we're lucky enough to have several institutions who are trying to customize and personalize business English courses according to the needs of the learners. There's also, I think, for us teachers, there's more materials, more trainings, and more materials, resources are available to us teachers by different institutions. Namely, one of the some of the institutions that I follow, because I'm quite selective when it comes to the schools that I approach, that I trust. I really appreciate what the British Council, for example, have been doing, especially with their Algeria linkages program. The program that has been collaborating with university centers to provide students with business English trainings to allow them to be able to enter the whether it's the local market, the national market, or the international market. Also, with what world this specific program is actually provided by World Learning, which is also one of the institutions that I really appreciate. So I feel like there's definitely a growth, a rise in business English, and I can only foresee that it'll continue to rise in the upcoming years. It's not going
Hmm.
anywhere.
Okay. Now, there is one question that I get a lot from students, from learners in general,
Mhm,
okay? Those
mhm.
who are interested in pursuing education in business English. So they just keep wondering, can they start business English from scratch? Like, even if they don't have, like, some decent level in English in general, huh? Do you think they can start from zero? Is that a possibility?
I don't think so. Honestly, I I really am someone who doesn't like to give false hope. But starting business English from zero, do they mean having zero notions when it comes to business English, but actually being able to keep up with a conversation in English, speak a decent amount of English, have a decent amount of understanding, and maybe even the basics of grammar? I mean, if there's, let's say, you have to have a specific set of linguistic skills
Mm,
before tackling business English. Because, and I will be honest,
mhm,
I try to be 100% honest, whether it's with my fellow teachers, trainers, or my students. If you want to dip your toes in business English, you have to be willing to question your English, first of all,
mhm.
your English as a whole. So I personally like to encourage, especially people who want to teach business English, to have fluency, to acquire English language fluency. So you need an advanced level. This is if you're teaching.
So what would be the minimum
For students,
to start a business English course? Would you say?
element. Uh,
A2, B1,
elementaries, maybe
elementary.
A2, depending on the
Right.
learner, because it depends. Sometimes you have A2, so you have students who score A2 or B1, but
Mhm.
when it comes to conversation, when it comes to conversing, they still
It
need a
could be
lot of
higher.
practice.
Mhm.
Exactly. So it depends on the type of assessment that we
Mhm.
conduct.
Mhm.
So maybe a B1 just to be sure,
Mhm. To be on the safe side.
as a minimum, exactly, to be on the safe side.
Exactly. So basically, according to your answer, it's definitely not for beginners.
Definitely not for beginners. Business English, no. I always recommend, and this is actually what we did with Air Algerie back
Mhm.
in 2019, so 2019. We were approached by one of the engineers at Air Algerie, and they asked whether they could start business English from scratch. So we conducted an assessment, so a test, and they actually we recommended an amount of 30 hours. So they had to take a 30-hour general English course, and this is where we consolidated their their skills, so use of grammar, writing, speaking. We got them comfortable with the language. We made sure that they you knew the basics of the four skills, and then we moved to a more specific area of English. And
Yeah,
this is if we want to optimize the results, because as a trainer, my main goal is not to just deliver the course. My main goal is for my students to leave the classroom, complete their training, and actually see progress.
that's
That's
true.
that's the only way I would have succeeded. If not, then I would have miserably failed.
I agree with you. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. Okay, so Nurluda, we're going to take a very short break
All right.
and we'll continue after it, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Phrasal verbs are combinations of verbs and prepositions, like show up. They are frequently used by native speakers, especially in informal contexts, and are therefore essential for fluent English communication. Here are a few examples across different proficiency levels. Pick up. For example, she is picking up trash at the beach. Look after. For example, he is looking after his little brother. Come down with. For example, he has come down with the flu. Now over to you. What phrasal verbs could be formed with the verb come? All right, welcome back. Nalhuda, can you hear me? Okay, I think there is a slight issue with the internet connection. So we're just waiting for her to get back on track. Oh, she left us. Okay. I'm just going to try to get her back on the live. All
Oh,
right. There
please.
she is.
Sorry, my internet is not collaborate. It's not
I
helpful
know.
today.
That's all right. That's all right. These things happen. So yeah, no worries. Okay,
Right.
so welcome back, Norluda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall
So,
we proceed with the questions?
yes, please.
All right, excellent. Now, let's talk a little bit about the value that business English has for working professionals in Algeria. So,
Okay.
how do you think it can help them in their future careers?
First of all, I think we've already established that business English, English as a whole, and business English is crucial for career advancement in Algeria, and that is, several due to several reasons. First of all, you have the professional opportunities. When you speak English or you complete a course in business English, especially if you work within a multinational company that requires its employees to be proficient in English. This proficiency can be a key differentiator between you and another employee, someone that you're
Mhm,
competing with over a rank or a position. So it makes you a more, let's say, appealing candidate uh,
mhm,
for um, for a position. And we can also mention the advantage of being able to establish effective workplace communication. I've had learners who worked with foreigners, and they
mhm,
weren't able to have relations, any sort of relationship with their colleagues due to the fact that they didn't speak the same language, they didn't share English. So, the Algerian employees spoke either Arabic or French, and their fellow colleagues spoke only English or a different language. Sometimes even misunderstandings, would happen due to the lack of cultural awareness, um, the fact that they did not share again this common and understanding of one another. There was no cultural sensitivity when it came to their interactions. So I think this is where English plays a role. We know that effective communication can make or break a business.
That's true. That's
So
true.
if you have to or if you must deal with partners, stakeholders, clients who speak English or a different language, you have to make sure you are on the same wavelength as these people in order to establish an understanding of one another and successful
Mhm,
communication. So I
mhm,
think that these are elements that play a role in career growth, especially again in this globalized business economy. It's a business oriented world, and English is the leading language. So
mhm.
this is how important business English is for.
All
It's,
right,
it's
excellent. So far we've talked about what business English involves. We've
yeah.
talked about its potential. We've also
Yes.
talked about the benefits that it has for working professionals.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about the challenges. Okay, challenges for both learners and educators.
There's a lot of those. A lot of
Yeah,
those.
certainly.
Mhm.
So let's start with the challenges for learners, and then we'll move on to those for educators or teachers.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, with my learners, with a lot of my learners, their main challenge is that they are usually unable to identify their own needs.
Mm,
This is a challenge for both the trainer and the learner. I
mhm,
think every time I sit down, and I like to take the time, especially if I'm leading the course, because alhamdulillah, I've had this privilege of leading the course from A to Z. So the interaction with the company, the conducting the assessment, and then kind of establishing the needs, and the whole process. When I sit down, when I have the time to sit down with each and every learner, and I would ask them, for example, what is your job description? Because I want to be able to personalize, to customize this course and tailor it exactly according to your needs. What's shocking is that some people don't even know their job descriptions. What do you do in a day? Like, okay, describe what you do in a day, and they would have scattered thoughts, scattered tasks all over the place. So the management doesn't even provide them with uh, a clear job description, so they don't know. And we always end up delivering a course of business English, and they end up studying subjects that they don't even need.
Mm.
Instead of delivering, being able to deliver the specific industry English, we end up doing a full course, which is still great. I mean, it's still a great value, but it definitely would have been, it definitely would be more suitable for them to know their job descriptions and be able to help the teacher and be able to help themselves receive the material that they need. So this is one of the main challenges that we face. The second one would be the cultural differences, especially with, and of course, I mean, no offense to anyone, but especially with the older generation, um, they didn't get to, maybe the younger generation or the younger generations have a more clear view of what other cultures revolve around, the practices that happen in other cultures. Maybe we, and not to say we because I'm in my 30s, but the younger generations have a more or less an open mind
Mm-hmm.
to the differences in culture, in cultural practices. Some of the challenges that perhaps some of the professionals who belong to older generations is understanding or accepting some cultural differences, cultural nuances, when it comes to, for example, if, Western cultures in general.
That's true.
Um, what
I
else?
I agree. Yeah, culture is a very important factor to consider, not just in
Definitely.
general English, but also in business English.
Definitely, because business communication styles vary significantly across cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not only teaching the language, but we're also helping students understand these differences and kind of accept them, in the sense that you don't have to absorb these differences. You don't have to modify or alter your identity as a person. This is just going to allow you to be able to maybe find a middle ground and handle your business partner or your client with respect, without intentionally or unintentionally offending them, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the principle that I go by is the fact that, well, if you're studying English, then you should follow the culture of English speaking countries.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it's not an option. When you're in Rome, you have to do like the Romans and be like the Romans. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yep,
But
exactly.
you try telling that to someone who's over 50, and someone who's very, in Algeria, we tend to not separate our personal belief, not just the belief system, but we tend to kind of things overlap. Let's just say that, not make it
That is true. That is true. Yeah, yeah.
things overlap.
So, any other challenges?
Maybe keeping up with students find it hard, and I'm mentioning, actually, I'm trying to tackle challenges that both students and the
Mm,
teachers face.
yeah.
Keeping up with business trends, as a teacher, well, as a learner, as a business English learner myself, because I don't just consider myself a trainer, I'm still learning. I'm always learning. There's always something new, or something to review. This is
Hmm.
my motto. I like keeping up with business trends, but life gets hectic. It sometimes gets too busy, and we're overwhelmed, whether we're students or teachers. Um, there are lots of distractions. and the business world is constantly evolving, with new trends, developments, technology, and practices emerging regularly. So
Yeah.
we have to stay updated. We have to learn how to use new marketing trends. We have to keep up with new corporate policies, differences in organizational structures, and that's not easy. It requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of effort, but we definitely have to make time if we want to evolve.
That's true. Yeah. I'd say,
These are just a
mm,
few of the challenges that we face. You have, at assessment with business English. Assessment is not. It's not. It can be challenging because there's a diversity of skills involved. So it's not the
mm,
same as, I teach you the present simple and then I give you an activity about the present simple and I just evaluate it. It's more, we take a more practical approach to the assessment. So it's usually a presentation, and then a presentation or a case study or a financial report to write, or a scenario based evaluation. And you don't want to be unfair as a teacher, especially that we
mm,
sometimes have, and it's undeniable, we sometimes have this bias. We have it's not a favoritism kind of policy, but sometimes we have students with whom we click very fast, students who are outspoken, we just like them very much, and so however they perform, we want to praise them. So we kind of try to put the bias aside and take on a more objective approach to our assessment of our students.
okay. Good. So now let's talk about the strategies. What strategies do you use as a business English trainer in your
Mhm.
class
Yeah.
to motivate your students, your learners, to engage them in your classes?
Well, first of all, my go-to strategy is personalizing interactive activities. I like to incorporate personalization. So this is, again, it's the best case scenario for me is leading the program from A to Z. So that it gives me time. And I usually offer this. I don't even get paid for it. Even when I used to do this via an employer, I would always, offer my services beforehand. I like to sit, especially if it's a small group of trainees. So if it's, up to maybe 20, even 40 people, I would sit down, try to sit down with each one of them, get their needs, analyze, and go through their needs one by one, and then try to combine all of their needs, especially if they come from the same, well, they usually come from the same industry, but if they have similar positions, it means that there's no difference in ranks. So I
Hmm.
have a group of managers, or a group of engineers, and I would personalize the sessions. I go for interactive activities because adults are not like children. They're not like teenagers in the sense that they get bored easily. With
Yeah.
children and teenagers, it's easier to manage a classroom and say, okay, now it's time for grammar. Now we're going to go through this, and then you're going to your textbook and you're taking 10 minutes to solve this specific problem. With adults, it's usually, looking at their watches, waiting for the break, wanting to go out and grab a cigarette and coffee that takes half an hour. So I want to create this atmosphere that makes them want to stay in the classroom, feel
Hmm.
comfortable enough, feel engaged enough to not want to spend time outside of the classroom.
That's true. Yeah,
So
exactly.
interactive activities are my go-to. I like to discuss. It takes sometimes more than I expect, but I like to start with a warmer. I like to start with this anecdote, maybe storytelling, and then I get
Yeah.
to ask everyone, "What do you think about this? And what's your intake on this?" And of course, I have to be an active listener,
Hmm.
and I have to listen, and I have to actually show in genuine interest, because adults can decipher when you're faking interest. So
Hmm.
you have to be interested in what they say, and you have to always come back with a question, um, make sure that they get along with each other, which is not always the case, sadly. Uh, so yeah, so interaction, personalization. I like the use of technology, but not too much. I don't rely on a lot of platforms. Um, I usually ask my students to maybe take a look at a video or maybe read an article before coming to class, just to familiarize them with the content, just to make them feel comfortable about the theme that we're tackling that day. But other than that, I like using podcasts sometimes. We listen to a clip or two. If I'm teaching online, which I don't usually do, I mean, I haven't been teaching online very long, perhaps during COVID, and then I stopped. But using platforms, live sessions, um, to kind of create an interactive environment in class,
Hmm.
uh, whether it's online or in person. But I'm mainly talking about in-person activities because the last few years I've spent teaching, in actually in literal classrooms, in-person groups.
Yeah. All right, good. I just wanted to point out the fact that a lot of those learners in class are not
Mhm.
there because they are interested in learning or,
Yeah,
developing their business English skills. They are
definitely.
there because they are forced by their companies.
But the managements, definitely.
Yes. Sometimes they don't even know why they are there.
I've had that a few times.
Oh, it happens. It happens a lot. It happens a lot. Yeah. But we still have to deal with that, right?
Definitely, this I have had people who would tell me, I'm quitting. I'm quitting in a few, either quitting or retiring. And I say, I mean, we're Algerians. Just put the word free over anything, and we would run towards it. So take advantage of this free course that would have cost you a lot outside of this.
That is true.
Exactly. So take advantage of that. And then if you go and find a better opportunity, then go ahead. Be smart about your decisions. You're not a child. Your frontal lobe is fully developed. So, okay, you can hate the game, but don't hate the player.
Yeah.
Don't hate the teacher. Don't hate English.
Yeah. What can we do?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, just to remind everyone watching us, you can ask your questions. So, please, if you have any questions, you can use the comments to send them. Okay? Please feel free. All right, Nur Huda, it's time for the quiz.
All right.
So, basically, just to explain how it works, I'll be asking quick questions,
Yeah.
kind of personal questions, not too
Okay.
personal, of course.
All right.
And please respond as quickly as you can. Okay?
Okay.
All
Yeah, I
right.
can do that.
Your favorite snack during work.
Chocolate.
Okay. Your pet peeve when it comes to class behavior among students and learners.
Oh, a lot.
A lot.
I
Yeah,
can
yeah. I was going to
a
say that.
lot, a
Yeah.
lot, a lot, just a lot.
One of them. One example.
I don't like people chewing on anything as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
misophonic and I have a hearing disorder, so I can hear it. Even if they do it softly, I can still hear it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mm.
The strangest interaction you've ever had with another teacher.
Do we want to go there? Do we want to go there?
If you don't want to answer the question, that's fine.
All right.
Of course, without
Strangest.
mentioning the name of the teacher. Huh?
No, no, no. Of course not. No, I would never do that. Striving to go to heaven. Trying with much difficulty to go to heaven. Um, I think that I've once worked at a school where
Hmm.
a fellow teacher, female teacher, would approach me and kind of ask very, very personal questions.
Mm,
Virgin on, invasion of privacy, making me full on cringe and feel
yeah,
uncomfortable
yeah.
in my skin, want to go home.
It happens. Yeah, it happens.
Mm.
Okay, an EFL or ESL professional that inspires you.
Um, uh,
Not necessarily a famous one, huh?
no, I'm not thinking famous at all. I have a lot of colleagues that I admire. Well, yourself first.
Thank you. Wow, that's an
We've
honor.
yeah, we've actually had a conversation last year. We were going to collaborate on some. I think I was working on a project, and I kind of approached you to collaborate, and then we kind of lost touch. But I still kept an eye on you. We keep an eye on each other. We're fellow teachers, trainers. So yourself, there's Leah Bitat, and there's Aziza. Aziza, I'm not sure how to
Uh,
pronounce her last.
Kulli, I
Um,
think. Al
yeah,
Kulli.
exactly. Yes, I
Yeah.
follow her. I
Yeah.
like Aziza a lot. She's a lovely person, not just English teacher, but a lovely person,
Mhm.
in general.
Yeah, I actually had the chance to meet her at the ESL conference in Iran last year. Yeah,
I
I
miss
was there.
that.
Mm. The best thing about teaching business English.
Best thing about teaching business, the people. I love my students. I've never had, alhamdulillah, I've never had an issue with the, management as a whole. But I love my students. I've
Okay.
always had. I still keep in touch with the students that I had back in 2014. I've never lost touch with my students. We still email. We're still linked on, LinkedIn and professional platforms. So, alhamdulillah.
All right. And then when we say best thing, that means there is also a worst
A
thing.
worst thing. A worst thing about teaching business. This is it used to be the worst thing about business English. Back when I was, I think I started teaching English. I was 20, 22, 23. I'm not sure. The math is not mathing at all. Um, People used to try to intimidate me because I looked very young. I'm 31 and I still get that sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah. The intimidation was no fun.
I can imagine. Yeah. The hardest topic to teach in business English.
Finance, money.
Finance. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
can
like
imagine.
finance.
That is tough.
I
That's
still
tough.
have to do my homework when it comes to a lot of topics.
Yep.
Every time I'm about to embark upon a business English teaching journey, I always have to eat up the whole book again. I have to do my homework to make sure that I get the answers to answer the questions that my students ask me. And I am not embarrassed about saying, wait a minute, I have to make sure that I give you the right information, or wait a minute, I'm not familiar or I'm confused. As long as I give you the right answer and not just, wing it and give you the wrong answer just to look like a know-it-all. I'm
Mhm.
still Algerian. English is my third language. It's the third language that I speak. I'm doing well as I am doing now. So give me a second. I'm going to take a look and I'll come back.
All right. So, which is more difficult, business English or French? No, sorry, business English or French business or business French? Yeah, business English or business French? Which
I
is
feel
more
like
difficult?
French, definitely. French as a whole is more difficult. I feel like the grammar is more difficult. The language is more difficult. The use of the language and the culture as well.
Yeah.
It's more complex. It's more built on etiquette. It's more built on appearances. I feel like English, especially taught from an American point of view, is more spontaneous. It's more about being spontaneous. It's more about being comfortable, being clear. With French, I feel like the more complex, the fancier it is. And I don't like fancy, because to me, communication should be clear. It should be
That's true.
concise. It should be understood. This is the goal of
Mhm.
communication. It's not to look good.
That's right, exactly. And we can add the fact that French is more formal than English.
But definitely,
English is
definitely.
more casual, which makes it, easier to learn and more attractive than French.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Good. If you could change anything about the way business English is taught in Algeria, what would it be?
If I could change anything about how business English is taught in Algeria,
Yes.
methodology wise, or can you just choose any other aspect?
Mhm. It's
Methodology
up to
wise?
you. Yeah, sure.
Okay, methodology wise, I think I don't know if I would change anything, but I would definitely encourage institutions and teachers to focus on communication, interaction, and not spend a lot of time writing on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So less theory, less writing, less dictating, and giving more space to the students to
Yeah.
interact, use English, and use and utilize real life scenarios.
Nice.
And also focus on problem solving because it not only helps students learn English, but it also hones their problem solving skills,
That's true.
hence making sure that they climb the business ladder faster.
Hmm. And the
If I
final question.
tackle
Yeah.
another aspect, sorry, I would,
Hmm.
maybe reduce the prices a little bit. I feel like the institutions are going a little bit off board with the pricing.
You think so?
Yeah, not with corporations. I mean, we don't go soft on corporations. They are making millions of dollars yearly, but individuals, I feel like they
Yeah.
should take it easy on the Algerian employee. They already make very little as it is.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. All right. And the final question. One thing you like to do between classes.
Recently, check on my 8-month-old baby. Just
Oh,
take a
okay.
look. Make sure he's not crying.
I guess that's when you're home teaching online. But what
Yes,
if you're outside?
I've been teaching online
Ah, I
recent. I
see.
mean, in last year, since last year.
Okay. Good.
When it's in person, I like to grab coffee.
Hmm. Or maybe socialize a little bit.
I usually socialize while grabbing coffee. So I usually just go with my learner. We grab coffee. We don't separate during break, and this has been my ritual with my learners for a while. We don't separate during the break. I usually just get everyone to join me, have coffee, and continue using English and get to know each other. And we ended up sometimes even ended up having therapy sessions. I'll tell you this one my last experience with Algeria Telecom, and I believe you taught the second batch of Algeria Telecom with Ear Academy.
Yeah, I did.
I dealt with the first group of students, and by the end of the training, I mean, we were leaning towards the end, and we actually had like a therapy session where everyone just sat down. It just turned into a therapy session for some reason, and we actually had people sharing their personal lives in English. We shed a few tears, and it felt great afterwards. So a business English session turned into therapy. I should have charged more for that session.
All right, excellent. So basically, we're running out of time. Maybe we
Oh,
can do one more question.
I hope I haven't talked too much.
Well, that's the point. That's the point of the live anyway. So don't worry about that. So, interest among English teachers in general, their
Mm-hmm.
interest in teaching business English is growing.
Yeah. Yes.
A lot of English teachers want to transition into this
Yes.
field,
From.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
it's more lucrative. It has some, interesting career
It's
opportunities.
more challenging.
It's more challenging. Yeah.
Mm.
So, what's your advice for those teachers?
My first advice would be to, again, make sure that they are proficient in English. So make sure that you have an advanced level. Basic mistakes will not be tolerated coming from a business English teacher.
Hmm.
That's number one. That's my number one advice. Second, they have to understand the difference. So, as we mentioned before, they have to understand the difference between general English and business English. That is the key to understanding how important it is to use different methodologies and be able to kind of adapt according to your learners, adapt according to their needs. I advise my fellow trainers to use or develop specialized teaching materials. So sometimes instead of following one book, you can use different materials and combine them again according to your learners' needs. Um, Another piece of advice that I can give them is incorporating and focusing on real world context. So it has to
Mm-hmm.
be, your lesson has to be built upon scenarios that they may encounter in real life at work.
Mm-hmm.
That will allow them to deal with situations and be familiar and kind of stay one step ahead of life, of
Mm-hmm.
business. um, Enhance their professional development. I am someone who encourages people to focus on personal and professional development, but not in the sense, that you have to pay for, pay to attend workshops. You can work on your profession. We have access to unlimited resources thanks to the internet, thanks to podcasts, thanks to people like yourself and these content creators who allow this emphasis to spread to people. So focus, enhance your professional development by reading, researching, not being ashamed of asking your fellow trainers for help,
Sure.
uh, and focus on practical skills. Focus on
Mm-hmm.
practical skills.
Yeah. Are there any qualifications out there that they can get that are specifically designed for those who want to move to teaching business English?
I mean,
Any certifications, maybe
I think there are a few.
degrees?
Yeah, I think there are a few. I mean, first of all, there are a lot of people. I know a lot of people who come from, business relevant subjects. So they study business, for example, management at
Mm.
school. So they hold, for example, a master's degree in management, and then they move to English. So they get, so they take the English proficiency test. They score, a C1 or a C2, so advanced, and they combine the two certificates and become business English teachers, especially if
That's
they.
me.
That's great, perfect.
That's what I've done.
I think it's admirable. It's even more admirable than someone coming from, English, an educational background, a master's degree in English and then moving to business. I feel like it's an easier switch, or not, depending on how you see it. But yeah, I think the British Council is offering courses, business English courses, train the trainers,
Mm.
and various other institutions. But, yeah,
You
I'm
mean
not
here in
sure.
Algeria, or is it online?
I think it's online. I think
It's
it's
online.
online. I've
Okay.
encountered that once in a while, but I am not someone who believes in certificates because I have met people who had certificates but did not have the qualifications,
Okay.
and I've also met people who didn't have the certificates but were definitely more qualified because they were autonomous learners. These are people who worked on themselves.
Hmm.
I personally have never actually received a tangible certificate.
Hmm.
But I took, of course, the training, the course, and every time I'm introduced to a new business English material, I make sure to study it, research every notion, and make sure that I know it by heart before going into my classroom. And I think as long as you're able to deliver, and as long as you're able to reach the goal that you established with your students, I think you're good to go. So
Okay.
an advanced level and a willingness to learn combined with hard work
Mhm.
and a lot of hard work.
Okay. Right, excellent. So, Nurul Huda, that's it for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been lovely talking to you. Um, I really thank you for this opportunity to share. I hope that my advice was useful. Uh, yeah, thank you.
It was an immense pleasure for me to have you,
Thank you so
and I
much. And
would
I'm
love to
looking.
have you again in the future.
Thank you. I would love to anytime, anytime. And I look forward to the next live. And yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
maybe we can treat another topic.
Definitely, definitely. I would love nothing more.
Yeah.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, and enjoy
Thank
the
you
rest of
so
the
much.
evening.
Thank you so
Everyone
much.
watching
You
us,
too.
thank you. Thank you for watching. Yes, yes, Noruda. Yes.
We haven't had any questions.
Nah, no questions from the
Okay.
audience today.
All right.
Too bad.
Hopefully everything
Maybe
was
next time.
clear.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything was clear.
Maybe they'll send them later, or I don't know.
Inshallah.
Let's see.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Anis. Have
All
a
right.
pleasant evening.
You too.
Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye bye.